Everybody. I bet you're surprised to see me as I'm surprised to be here this morning. Normally this time slot every week is at the beautiful Annette McCoy, but she is on a very well-deserved holiday. And so Anaya and I are doing Annette's show while she's away. But due to unforeseen circumstances, Anaya's not able to be here with us this morning. So when she said to me, do you want to do it on your own? I had to take a big, deep breath and take a couple of minutes to think about it and say, yes, I can do this. So here I am. So good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, or listening to this live or listening to this at a later time. Welcome to Angel Heart Radio, and I'm delighted to be your host this morning. Just before we start, I want to just give a little disclaimer, and that disclaimer is that Angel Heart Radio does not dispense medical or legal advice. Any decisions you make are from your own higher self, your intuition, and your own knowledge. So what am I going to talk about this morning? This was a bit of a fast sort of chat to try and come into this place. So I thought I'd talk to you about a few things that have been happening and a few questions that I've been asked recently. And one of the things that I was asked last night was about meditation. And for many of us, meditation has very different meanings. I have found since I had my major medical situation 2 years ago, meditation for me is not exactly the same as it used to be then. But I still know that I'm meditating, I'm in connection with spirit, with the angels, with my higher self, and whoever it is that I'm wanting to go into meditation with. And I think it's important for me to just say to everyone at the moment that we don't have to necessarily sit down and do a full-blown meditation in inverted commas. It's wonderful to do that, but we don't always have the time to do that. So I want you to know that you can just have a short little meditation without even anyone being aware that you're doing a meditation, because you can be sitting out in your garden just listening to the birds, having a cup of tea or coffee, and you just find yourself drifting off, or you suddenly realize that time has passed and you haven't been aware of that time passing. And that's always a little meditation within itself. And any meditation that we do, no matter how long or how short, it is connecting us with our higher self, and it is changing our vibration and our energy. And so this is really important at this time, because it's a really sometimes quite intense time that we're having on the planet at this moment, but that's okay. We can do this because that's why we're here. And I want you all to know that you can just be sitting, watching television. Close your eyes and just relax, breathe. Breathing is so important in meditation. And so by taking several long, deep breaths, or even just one long, deep breath, you can take yourself into that beautiful place of relaxation, which will change your energy, it'll change your vibration, and it will help you to understand or to feel better about yourself. We can't change what's happening out there. We can change how we react to it. And if we can react to it from a place of love and a place of kindness and compassion, then that changes everything. And you might think, I'm just one little person here. What my energy is doing is not going to make a lot of difference. But believe me, that little bit of energy that you are doing, no matter how small you might think it is absolutely massive when it joins on with all of the other people who are doing the same thing, because that's what we do as light workers. And that's a terminology that I haven't used very much recently. And that's just how everything is changing. And it's just so exciting to be here at this time. Because if you stop and think about it, our lives at this time, I used to say it was like a roller coaster, and, it had its ups and its downs. But this morning I was thinking about it, and I think it's sometimes a bit more like the weather, because in one day we can have beautiful sunshine, and then that afternoon we'll have a storm come up and it's rain and it's wetting all of the surfaces. And if we're outside, we get wet as well. But I like to think of that rain as washing the dust away, dross and all of the negative energy. And so I've sort of at the moment, I'm feeling that it's, rather than being a roller coaster ride, it's like being caught up in the weather, with its sunshine and its rain and its wind. That wind can be so powerful, but it's also blowing away negativity and sad thoughts. And if we've had any negative thoughts, one thing I do like to do is to just visualize that negative thought or that negative feeling within ourselves. Visualize it being inside either a balloon or a hot air balloon or just a little child's balloon. And then just let it go. And then as we let it go, it goes up into the atmosphere, and then it's transformed from negativity to positivity. So as we're doing all of these little steps in our daily life, it's just amazing how our energy changes within ourselves. Because I know if I'm having a day that I'm feeling a bit down, and we all have those days, if I just stop and take a few breaths, or even just go and walk out into the garden, I know my energy, my thoughts, my vibration, everything changes. And so that's one easy, simple little thing we can do. It doesn't matter if you haven't got a yard or an area full of trees and flowers you can go to. Just have a little pot plant or a little flower next to you where you sit and have your cuppa. And you will be surprised when you think about what that beautiful life force is that's coming from the flower. At book club last night, we were talking about the fact that this, in the northern hemisphere, is the spring. We've had the spring equinox, whereas in the southern hemisphere, we've had the winter equinox. So in the summer equinox, the spring equinox, you're planting all the seeds, and those seeds are going to blossom and grow, and you will be able to harvest that in the future. Because as we put our thoughts out into the atmosphere, it's like planting the seeds in the garden, in the earth. And in the winter, in the winter equinox, the autumn equinox that we're going into in the southern hemisphere, this is a time for us to hunker down and to go into our little cave and to restore our energy for the new seasons as spring and summer come along in our hemisphere. So while I'm talking about nature, I think that we don't appreciate always how beautiful our planet is and how wonderful nature is. Mother Gaia has given us some beautiful, beautiful plants and trees and crystals and rocks. And to walk out into Mother Nature is truly awesome, because when we express our blessings about what is around us, what we've been given in this lifetime, sure, we have prickles and things like that can sometimes get a thorn in our hand when we're gardening or something. But the thorn that'll come into our hand from the rose bush as we're pruning it ready for the spring blossomings, then we have a beautiful rose that comes, and its perfume can waft into the air, and it can add to all of the other blessings that we have. And I think sometimes that we need to stop and think about these daily things within our lives. And when we think of them as blessings and how lucky we are to be here at this time, then it can change the way we feel about ourselves. Because just taking that a step further, we can't change anybody else's life. No person, not our families, not our friends, not our political leaders. We cannot change anybody's life. We can only change our own life. Because as we change, then that changes the energy and the vibration of the people around us. Sure, we can say prayers for our political leaders and everybody we know and love. And we can put that prayer out there to the angels. We can put it out there to Archangel Raphael, who's the Archangel of Healing. And we can do all of those things. But physically, we're the only person we can change. And as we change, everyone else will change around us. And that's one of the very exciting things when you stop and think about the influence that you, as one single soul, can have on everything and everyone around you. So let's just step back a moment, and I will talk to you for a second. I'm just sort of trying to think about how I'm going to bring this little subject up. So one of the things that's important for us to remember is that we are a soul in a physical body, in a human body. And we have chosen this body for our soul to inhabit in this lifetime. And so one of the things when we incarnated into this soul, into this physical body, into this lifetime, was that we have free will and we have choice. And so we need to think that this free will and this choice, we need to think about that with the decisions that we make. Now, I'm not meaning to sound heavy or anything like that, but what I'm saying is that this is when we think about, by us thinking about love, kindness, compassion. We can't do that on an everyday basis, 24/7, as much as it would be lovely if we could. But we need to think about the fact that if we're having a bad day or something really bad has happened to us, we need to then realize that we have to experience the dark side or the negative side before we can fully understand the love side, because we have to have these two sides in our life, because that's what brings about the balance in our life. Because we're here at this time for our soul to learn, to have lessons, to grow, and to experience. So I'm not going to go any further into that, because that's something that we do in workshops, and something that we will perhaps be talking about in the future, because that's one of the things Annette and I are talking about is doing workshops. So just I can hear my mother talking to me at the moment. So one of the funny things about, so my mother was just the most amazing woman. She was an amazing clairvoyant and medium. She has now passed to spirit, and I have very good contact with her. And she said to me one day, I said to her, "Mum, how do I know what to say? How do I know who I'm speaking to?" And she said, "Carol, you just get up there and you just open your mouth and it will come out." And I think that that's very true for all of us. We think that we can't do this. We think that only certain people can do this. But the reality is, we all can do whatever it is. We don't have to necessarily be a spiritual guru or anybody like that. Long as we have love and kindness and compassion in our hearts, and we share that with people. Diana Cooper, who's had a lot of influence on my journey with the elementals and with the dragons, who I just absolutely love, she said in her newsletter the other day that she used to worry when she would go to places and she would see that people had left rubbish in areas of beauty, in parks and on beaches and things. And she said it used to stir me up to see that people disregarded this beautiful area that they were in. And she said, and now I have learned, instead of that point of view, she said, I offer them blessings. I don't know who they are, but I bless the person who has left that rubbish there. And she said, that is changing what I am putting out there to the world. And to me, that was a really important thing to read, because sometimes we might have these little judgmental thoughts, and we all have them. But if we can change that thought to instead being bless you, just bless you, have a good day, then that changes our energy. And that's so important. And I think for me to read what Diana had written in her newsletter, it just ticked a little box in my mind, because I'm the same. I sometimes think, how can people disregard this beautiful bushland or this beautiful area I'm in? But now I'm changing that since I read that. And I'm just saying, bless them. I hope they have a good day. And it's making me change how I feel. And how I feel and how you feel is so important for us in so many ways, so many ways. And the other thing I want to talk about just before I go is that we need, well, no, we don't need to, but it's important for us to look for signs to let us know that our angels and our guides and the elementals and everybody is with us, because they are with us at all times. We have the most amazing team that is with us, supporting us and guiding us at all times. So what I do is now I look for a book, or I might be somewhere quite incidental and a song will come on. And as I listen, words will come into my head, and those words are messages for me. And that's really important. And then I usually find myself singing along and hoping that nobody's listening, but that changes our energy, and we get a message, and we know that we're being supported by our spiritual team. And I say, thank you for the message, because they're there all the time. And another thing is, it's so important to trust our gut, because our gut is our intuition. Our gut will not steer us wrong. How often have you had a message and in your gut, you make a decision and your gut says, oh, no, that's not the right decision. Go ahead and do it anyway. And then later on you say, my gut was right. That wasn't the right decision. Thank you for the message. And then you can change it. Just because you have made a decision does not mean that that is set in concrete. Does not mean that that particular road you're going down, spiritual road, you suddenly realize that's not where you're going to go. You will get the opportunity to turn, and you will be able to then come back onto the road. where you really should be or could be. I hope that makes sense to all of you. So, and just one other thing. As you all know, I'm really, really connected to my elementals and to my dragons, as well as my spirit guides and the angels. Oh, I'm just so blessed to have my team, just as you are blessed to have your team. What I find helps me, and I mentioned it briefly just a moment ago, is if I'm feeling a little bit down, I'm lucky I've got trees in my garden. I can just go out and either walk around the trees, I can talk to the trees. But if you don't have that opportunity, you could have a little plant in a pot, a little flower or plant in a pot. It doesn't necessarily have to have flowers, because regardless of whether it has flowers or not, there are still fairies and elementals living within that plant. And believe it or not, even a plastic plant, it has a sense, a soul, a meaning. And that's something I can perhaps talk about another day. But I had that shown to me so amazingly many years ago. So what I would like to leave you with now is I want you to think about how blessed you are, how loved you are by your spirit team, which envelops everybody. If it's possible, go out and ground yourself. If you're going to walk on the snow, you're not going to want to do that in bare feet, but that doesn't matter, because the roots can from your feet. Sorry, I got a bit tangled up then. The roots can come out from your feet, and they can go through your shoes, and they can go down through the snow, and they can go through the rocks, and they can go through the sand, and they can connect you to Mother Earth. Or if you're lucky and you can walk on a beach, or you can go and walk on the grass. Grounding is so important to us all at this moment, because it's just too easy to sort of think, oh, I can't do anything. But if you ground yourself and then change your thoughts, even if you just start to do it every now and again, because you think, oh, I can't do that. You can do it. Just change your thoughts to realize how loved you are and how blessed you are and how supported you are by all of your team. And you will find that it does make a difference in your everyday life. Sure, we're still going to have the ups and the downs, the darks. I don't like calling it the dark side, so we'll just call it the negatives. So we'll have the negatives, but then we'll have the positives. Something negative happens, just wrap it in love. Just wrap it in love. Because once you start giving out that love, that kindness, that compassion, you'll find it comes back to you tenfold. And if at times you feel you're being bombarded, just visualize yourself in a cocoon, either of golden light or of white light. Just visualize yourself wrapped in it. That's what I do if I sometimes go into a shopping centre and I feel that whoa, I need to go in there, but I don't really want to. So I just picture this cocoon or this column of light around me, and you'll find that keeps all of that negativity away from you. Well, I've made it through a half an hour. I feel quite good. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed being with me this morning. This has been a big session for me, and I hope that you're able to join Annette and I next Thursday morning, when we will be talking to the absolutely delightful Marnie Perney. So lots of love, everyone. Have a pleasant day or a pleasant evening, and I'll see you next Thursday.